How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the Forever Arsenal podcast. That intro ended quite abruptly, or was it just me? It did. Even the intro said, "Fucking get on with it, bro." It's only Palace at home. He said, "Yes, people, we are here for the Palace review and touching on PSG, but we will be back before PSG a couple of days before to really kind of get our teeth into it and see what the people are saying, see what we're feeling. And with a couple of days off a Champions League semi-final, our first one since 2009, and only our third one in my lifetime, actually. So it's a big one, people. But we've just come off what should have been a big one in Crystal Palace at home, but considering how far Liverpool are ahead in the league, one win away before and after that game from securing the Premier League title, which they should do this weekend against Tottenham. The result, not necessarily, the most important, but the performance still somewhat debated, of concern. We're here to talk about it. James, Lee, Jordan in the building. Hit the like button, people. Make sure you're subscribed. Individual channels as well. I won't go through them now, but you should already know what it's about. And yeah, leave your comments in the comment section below. Me and Lee was actually looking through a couple of those yesterday, and yeah, there was a few. Well, there's always gems in the comment section. So yeah, continue leaving your gems, people. But how are we feeling generally? I mean, about that result. I was with James, so I'll steer away from him for a second. Lee, we spoke before the game.
I'm still half asleep.
Yeah. You wake up. You wake up. Put your
10 minutes.
Wash your face and all of that. It's all good, man.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's mad though. When I'm late, you see how these look kind of, they make a meal of it. But now you're clear at the top.
Yeah, you're a repeat offender, Turkish. You're a repeat offender. Do you know what I mean? You got history. You got previous. James, we'll give him a pass this one time.
That's very kind of you.
Oh, you're giving him a pass. Let me put his point back on.
Well, we give him a pass in as far as we're not going to blast him, but it's 2 points off.
It's two. He just randomly plucked a number out the air. I have taken a point off.
Definitely a point deduction. He's got to take that.
Definitely
we'll do the point. We'll do the point. That's fine. Yeah. I mean, I'm so embarrassingly clear at the top that I think it's only right.
Yeah. It was like this, and now it's like this. So yeah, I mean, like
there's a glimmer.
You get it right though, James. He got the draw.
I did.
I know. That's 2 points gained. Oh well. Anyway, we move. Go on, you guys take over. I'm honestly still half asleep, and I think part of it's because of that game. So yeah, by all means, take it away.
I mean, Lee, Jordan, let's start with you this time, because it's not really one that I need to know what the atmosphere was like and how it was in the stadium. Let's start with you and see where you take it.
I think you guys are going to kind of go with the idea of it doesn't really matter. The league campaign is over. Didn't lose. I think it's unacceptable. I think it's really unacceptable. And to be fair, I've been consistent in saying for the past 3 or 4 weeks, I'm not on this whole because the title's gone. The league games don't really matter. I think they do matter. I thought the performance was really, really, really unprofessional. And I think if we as fans allow these performances to kind of just go by because the league campaign's gone, we're going to really feel the effects of that next season, I think, because it's about standards. It's about standards. Let's have it right. I think over the course of the 90 minutes, guys, Palace probably were the better team.
Yeah.
Over the course of the 90 minutes, I think you could say Palace would probably just shaded it. And if they started Mateta, we lose that game. If they start Mateta, we lose that game. It's not acceptable to just have this idea of just because we beat Real Madrid and we think we're the big boys, we can just toss off these league games. No. What about standards? What about standards? It's true though. What about standards? I want to be a team, Turkish, that when we try to dominate England and Europe, we need to be a team that can reel off wins, even if they're not the biggest game of the week. We need to be a team that can just go to any team and not even win, but perform. You can lose a game, you can draw a game, but that performance was not good enough. Brentford, it's not good enough. Everton second half, not good enough. And I think we're just kind of because the Madrid tie went our way and we performed very, very well, we're kind of just letting these performances go under the radar. It's not acceptable. I'm still pissed, Turkish. We're not in the semi-final this weekend in the FA Cup. Yeah. I'm still pissed that United beat us, the worst United in 40 years. I'm still pissed that Newcastle duppied us home and away in the League Cup. I'm still pissed. I'm still pissed that our title challenge, for me, in my opinion, was done before Christmas. The damage for the title was done before Christmas. Yeah. So we can't just, because we've got a semi-final to look forward to, it doesn't matter. No, it does matter. Standards matter. So I'm not on this whole, it's not that big, it's not that deep. No. It is that deep. So we need to set standards now for next season, because next season, Mikel Arteta won't have the grace. He won't have the grace of picking between the Champions League and the Premier League. No, you got to go for both. I want to go deep in both. I want to win the FA Cup. But this has got to change. It's got to change. So I don't know what your thoughts are, but
isn't this what it is though? And by that I mean, isn't this what it is? Hasn't the Champions League with PSV and Real Madrid been the escape from the reality? Do you get what I'm saying? As in, that hasn't been the norm for the since the January window, or since January in general.
Yeah,
those are the abnormal like performances or results or genuine feeling. Whereas the league has kind of delivered this kind of thing week in, week out since February.
No, you're right. I guess I'm just saying, as a fan base, like, we're for fans. This is a fan show. As fans, we can't feed into the narrative that I've been hearing for a few weeks now that it doesn't matter, Jordan. Relax. It's not that deep. The Madrid game is what matters. The PSG game is what matters. We can't allow that to fester into the team. We've got to still push this team and expect them to be beating Palace, or not even beating Palace. At least perform. There's no divine right to win these games, but I'm not saying performances. Performances matter. So what you're saying is correct, but I'm saying as fans, I've heard fans talking about, the Everton game, the Brentford game, doesn't really matter. Even the Ipswich game, but beforehand, let's try and win it, but it's not really the big. No, they do matter. They do matter. I don't know what you guys think, but it's not acceptable for me.
I think they matter for sure. They matter more if we don't do what we want to do in this Champions League. I think it's just, the attention's taken away, and naturally, how fans are in this day and age. Yeah, well, that was a good conversation. See you later, Jordan.
I'll put the boiler man round.
Someone's laying pipes in that house, and it ain't Jordan.
Okay.
Look him.
Sort your pipe out.
Someone's going to fix today. Sorry. I can't use it.
You'd have thought he put himself on mute or something as well, wouldn't you? Like,
Interesting. To be honest, it's more interesting than the game.
Yeah.
He's right.
He's right what he says. He's right what he says, because we are all hiding behind the fact of the Champions League. And I myself included. But Crystal Palace yesterday, they had their game's 3 days away, and you can argue that their game is just as big as ours on the context of where Crystal Palace are and everything like that. And they were aggressive, they were hard-working, and everything that you would want Arsenal to be. Maybe the difference is that Arsenal were in front, and they felt that once we was in front, we didn't have to do too much. I think there's something in that. But there have been too many of these performances this season. 13 draws is, and so many points dropped at home again. And the difference between this season and the last couple of seasons is the fact that we're still in a cup competition at the end, where we haven't been in the last couple of seasons. But make no mistake, we've dropped points at home. The performance yesterday, I'm sorry, Mikel, played the strongest team that he probably could, and you go and produce a performance like that. It's a joke. I'd rather see the kids out there wanting to run around and all that, Now, I get it that players are playing with the thought of not getting injured and all that, can't get away from that. That is definitely there. Also, the fact is the thing about momentum, that's been squashed by the performances against Brentford and against Everton, because we've been atrocious in them, but then produced 2 wonderful performances. And at this moment in time, I'm sorry to say that I'm looking at Arsenal. We're nowhere near good enough to win the league, but we are a cup side at this moment in time. The cup side, which is only in the Champions League, because, the Champions League is covering 1,000 sins at this football club at the moment. 1,000 sins. I watched it yesterday. You got a team that's, can you dare say it, overcoached. not allowed to express itself, a captain that's completely and utterly out of form and continues to play and doesn't look to change it in any shape or form. Waneri's performances since coming into the side was this maverick, and now all of a sudden I watched him yesterday, he didn't do anything other than get the ball and play it wide and things like that. There was no maverick play in his game.
Why is Sterling? On that note, Lee? Like, is it just me that can't make sense of why is Sterling getting minutes in this part of the season? When Waneri is the one we'd all want to see if we need some change against PSG or dare I say Munich. Why is Sterling getting these minutes?
That was the worst part of the night for me.
I don't mind. I said to Russ on the way home yesterday, I don't mind Sterling playing if Martinelli's getting rested and Saka's getting rested, because at the end of the day, if he gets injured or anything there, and he's protecting our wide players. Martinelli played 90 minutes yesterday. Why? Why has he played 90 minutes yesterday in a performance like that? You know, Waneri only getting 20 minutes at the end of it. You know, big loss Marino yesterday. I don't care what anybody says. You know what I mean? Our front three got no. It's too weak. Too weak up the top there. Like that. They was far too easily. Trossard was picked off too easily. Even though he scored, we had no options to whip the ball in there. Sometimes in games that you got to put crosses in. We didn't even put no crosses in. And everybody that come on yesterday, you know, if you want to be really honest about it, that's twice now Saka's come on. And we've been in winning positions, Everton and this game here, and ended up dropping points. Why? You know, I mean, what did Saka do when he came on yesterday? Absolutely nothing, apart from a great effort, which was our best move. But he done nothing. He done absolutely nothing. So why risk it? Why risk it? I'm looking at it and going, you know, you don't really want to win this game because you never did it in the first place. I thought it was shocking yesterday. Absolutely shocking. But no one's going to moan about it because it's all about next week. And I get that. But I've seen so many of them performances at home this season that the Champions League is covering it. And if we don't win this Champions League, I'm sorry, this season will go down as unacceptable because all right, we've not challenged for it. It's the way that we've gone about it. You know, I mean, how many more times are we going to drop points at home and everybody's going to go, yeah, it's all right? I don't know how many points we've dropped at home now, but look at, you know, if you're going to win the league, you've got to drop 5 points at home over the whole season. We dropped that in a month. You know what I mean? And it's not good teams, boys, that are coming there and with it. You know, it's average Premier League teams are coming there, putting in blocks of 8, and we have not got a clue how to break it down. And I don't see how he's going to do it. He just, you know, I love the way that we played against Real Madrid over the 2 games. It's fantastic. You know what I mean? But if PSG set up like that, we're in trouble. We are in trouble. They won't, but if they did, we'd be in trouble.
It's strange. I mean, the reason is the summer, but it's weird because after the 22-23 season, we made such a change. Because I do feel like you got to keep teams on their toes every season, regardless of going game week 38 or not. You've got to change something up. You've got to have a different approach. And after the 22-23 season, where it was capitulation, we changed it up quite a bit. Then, you know, the notch turned in a different direction. We went more physical, more rigid, and you know, it nearly bared the fruit that we wanted it to bear with the game week 38 over game week 31 capitulation. But then going into this season, it just, you know, looking back now, it just felt like we went game week 38 last season. Man City probably won't be on it as much as they've won it 4 times in a row. They haven't refreshed. The expectation is if we do this again or go about it in the same manner again, then we'll win it. But there's been literally nothing to refresh, because as much as Mourinho has now stepped up in this position and Calafiori, we've seen him here and there do you know, more bits attacking wise. they were never needle movers in terms of how the opposition view us or the threats that we can pose the opposition. And I just feel like once you give opposition a year in, 2 games, 3 games in, they kind of can figure things out. I mean, this is the level we're playing at now. But James, you wanted to jump in there as well.
I think where I struggle is I can't pretend I wasn't on the preview saying that I was pretty relaxed about it, that my main concern was players staying fit. I've always maintained that the players and managers and everyone should show up because fans support differently. Yes, I might be relaxed about the game to a degree, but, and I keep repeating myself, but you know, there could have been kids going to their first ever game. There could have been people who've flown in from Australia, from America, from Africa, from wherever to watch, you know, to watch Arsenal, and you show up for these fans. So the lack of concentration on the goal, the lack of, when I reflect on it, Palace had quite a few chances even in the first half, you know, and I think Arsenal's lack of,
they scored the hardest too. Sorry, they scored the hardest too.
Yeah, you're right. I think the lack of professionalism for sure is slightly concerning. I do think you're going to get that in the odd game, and I don't know how often we can say Arsenal lack professionalism. How often Arsenal have been not good enough? Well, you can say that a lot this season. Actually lacking professionalism and not trying. I don't think that's rarely a problem with Arsenal, with this Arsenal team. But ultimately, so that's kind of why I don't want to go in too much, because I was outside the Emirates going, let's be honest, like both clubs, Palace included, had bigger things to worry about. And you saw that in the 11 they put out too. I mean, maybe, you know, they could have picked up 3 points if they'd gone stronger, but you know, they did decide to rotate as well. But like I said yesterday on the watch along, it is a reminder of how disappointing the domestic campaign has been. It's not just the league. We're in 4 competitions every year. I want to win all 4 of them, and we've severely under-delivered in 3 of them. And the Carabao Cup, actually, do you know what? If we'd given Newcastle a decent fight, and we had all those injuries, and we kind of just, they just about beat us to it. You go, well, we lost to the champions, and they put everything into it, and you're a bit unlucky. We lost 4-0, guys. We were never in those. It was appalling. So I think domestically it's been an absolute shambles. But it, again, going back to what I said on the watch along, it is a little bit like reviewing a movie we haven't seen the end of yet. And it's a crap analogy, but the point is, we don't know how this season ends. And if it ends with winning the Champions League, we just won't look back on this little run. We'll go, yeah, we get why we rotated at Everton. We get why we rotated against Brentford. We get why we rotated. Well, not really for this game, but obviously we brought in Sterling and whatever. And we'll understand it, because we'll just be euphoric and going, this is the best season that I've had in my life. So if we win the Champions League, it's the best season I've ever seen as an Arsenal fan, which is it's incredible how a handful of games can determine a 50, 60 game campaign. So I'm kind of reluctant just to, every problem we have with this domestic campaign with the league, we have covered. I've said it all. You guys have said it all. Everything that Jordan, Lee, and you've said, I agree with it all. It's just, I don't know yet how willing I am to forgive it because I don't know the outcome.
It's good that, it's good that we can separate it all, because, it is a separate matter, because Champions League would deliver your best year as an Arsenal fan. And that's what it's like. Come May, that determines your season and how you look back at it. It'll be one of the best that we've seen, being a bit older than you, because the Champions League we've never seen. I think there's been better seasons in terms of the Invincibles, and even 01, 02, even 97, 98 for me, all had accumulation of different, emotions and whatnot, and I hold them highly. But Champions League would be very unique. But it's like, if I use Chelsea as the example, Chelsea won the Champions League, but they didn't progress. When we're in a position where next season, regardless of the Champions League, we want that Premier League. We want over 38 games to get back to where we was a couple of years ago and actually get over the line. So, the Champions League, it's a welcome diversion from the reality, because I'm tired of talk. James, I said to you yesterday, since we signed Sterling, I kind of felt this season was done in terms of the league, because we don't have enough, and that was game week 3. So I'm glad that there's something there that But then at the same time, what Lee said is right. I looked at this weekend thinking, oh, we should be still in this competition. I love the FA Cup. It'd be nice. But I look at it as it's a week break because it's even I'm looking at the positive side of things. It's a week break. We need it before PSG, whatever. But really, we should be there.
Yeah, and I agree with all that. And look, I've been furious at the cup exits. I'm not one of those who goes necessarily I want the majors. I think if Arteta had walked out of this with a Carabao Cup, you know, a Champions League semi-final, and second with a slightly injury-plagued season, I'd have said, you know what, it's not great, it's not what we wanted, but he pulled something out of it, and we had a day to celebrate, and he came out with a trophy, and you know, but yeah, so I'm trust me, I'm all in on the cups, and I've been so disappointed over the last few years when we've gone out of them so poorly. Every exit's been so poor. West Ham 3-1 away, at home to Man United, at home to Liverpool, Newcastle 4-0 aggregate. Every cup exit's been shambolic. So trust me, I'm on all that. And also, what I want us to do this summer doesn't change. Not 1% of it changes if we win the Champions League. Yeah, I don't suddenly go, you know what? Trossard and Martinelli, that'd be all right for a year. That might actually be the one area we're okay. But you know what? There's
the demand slightly changes in terms of you can start looking a bit more like, you know, like we might be talking about Cunha and Eze for 10. You win a Champions League, go and bid for Wirtz. Do you get what I'm saying? So you can up the level.
That's one way to look at it
as well. Yeah, sorry.
Sure, that's one way to look at it. I think what changes is just my feeling. I'll just be happy. I'll just be happy. That's all. You know, if we win the Champions League, I'll be a very, very happy Arsenal fan. That's all we want to be. We want to be happy football fans who've seen our club do what they can. And that's it. But it won't change the demand. It won't change the work we need to do. It won't change anything. It's just, I'll either spend summer beaming and going, yay, Champions League, but what are we doing in the market? Or I'll sit there going,
no free passes next season. I don't care what anybody says. No free passes. If Arteta wins the Champions League, fantastic. But no free. I don't want to hear it after another drop points at home and another defeat at home. 100%. Oh, well, he's won the Champions League. He says no, because I'm fed up. I am starting to get fed up spending a lot of money on my home season ticket and seeing the same dross every season.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm seeing. You just said it, like Newcastle, Manchester United this season. Where did we lose those games? At home. Right. Where did we get knocked out to Liverpool last season? At home. West Ham in the league. At home. Aston Villa last season cost us the league. Where was it? At home. Every single time it is at home. We are losing things at home. And, you know, yes, we won the game against Real Madrid at home. And that's what you've got to expect. You know, I expect us next week to go out against PSG and win that game at home. But it's our home form that continually keeps letting us down. And yes, we win the Champions League. Fantastic. It is a cup competition, guys. I don't care what anybody says. If Arsenal win the Champions League this season, right, it proves to me that you're not the best team that wins in Europe. I'm sorry, you know, you can be European champions, but there's no way we've been better this season than we was last season, the season before. We've been atrocious, but we've turned it on when it matters in a cup competition. Liverpool done it back in 2005 when they was nowhere near good enough to win the league. Chelsea the same. You know what I mean? Like when they won it, I think they didn't even qualify for Europe that season like that. You know, they had to knock Spurs out of it, like, you know. So listen, there's been so many things wrong about our home form, and it is a little bit of a worry going into the game against PSG when you look at that Newcastle game. You know, we was outdone by Newcastle. I know there was a little bit of a different sort of feeling around at that time. We'd lost couple of injuries and whatever, but we wasn't as bad off as what we think. And the injury front, no one's talking about it there. We've got two starters out of this team at this moment in time, in Gabriel and Havertz, and arguably you could turn around and say, and there's a case for it, and Mourinho has done as well, and if not better than Havertz, you know. And Kivio's done very well, by the way. He was good again yesterday.
Yeah.
But that was a difference for me. Kivio still got things to prove, so his performance levels was good yesterday. But you've got people like Saliba at this moment in time. He knows he's in the team next week, regardless. Raya knows he's in the team with it. He was absolutely that Raya yesterday. That was a performance where he was atrocious because he wasn't quite up for it. So why not put Neto in there if that's the performance that you're going to produce? Like, you know what I mean? Because it was shocking from, you know, I look at him and think to himself, well, he should have had the second goal, the first goal. You know what I mean? There was mistakes in the first half that were very, very unlike him. Declan Rice, who's been magnificent, like, you know what I mean? Every time he got the ball, I'm just wanting him not to get injured and all that. Why he's played 90 minutes, I'll never know. I will never know why. There's no justification after that performance why he's played 90 minutes, because every time he got the ball, I'm worried. I'm worried when he runs. I'm worried he's going to get injured and all that. Like, that was incredible for me why he played. You got people like Shinchenko who done well the other day. Why let's just play him?
Yeah,
play him. You know, and Kivia really is the epitome of it all, because he is one player that's trying to prove himself, and he was the one that come out with the credit in the back four yesterday. Like, you know, you know, Timber wasn't at his. Listen, I get that. I totally get what we're you know, they're not quite at it. But I will say this: as much as I want to defend that, I then look at Crystal Palace. They were aggressive. They were hard working. Now, is that because there's 7 or 8 of their players that are not too sure whether they're going to be playing in the team or not? You know, there's only one place up for grabs for Arsenal, right? You know what I mean? And I think basically he said what he's going to do with the team against Ipswich. So everybody knows it. And so you're not going to get as a performance there. But I felt that, you know, whether you think it's a good thing or a bad thing, is that Crystal Palace manager has kept their players hungry. You know what I mean? Oh, there's places up for grabs in this team on Saturday. And, you know, it's a massive game for them. And only 3 days away. And I see them really going in aggressively with us. And maybe that was one of the reasons that Arsenal thought, well, we don't want to get injured here and all that night.
I do think that the game was in this weird state of, let's say Saliba doesn't make that error. And I was so annoyed about it because it's the second time in a week. That's what annoyed me so much. Let's say he doesn't make that error. Listen, I'm not saying we would have gone, oh, great, well done. But we'd have, honestly, I think we'd have said, you know what, we rotated, second gear, decent side Palace, and kind of cruised it. Like, sometimes football is defined by those fine margins. I thought they did have chances, and I think they were always worthy of the 2 goals. But in the same way, there were moments where Arsenal did just bore the game down deliberately in the way we know they want to do, and just kept the ball moving, and then were, you know, centimeters away from having a third. Do you know what I mean? Like the perception can swing massively, and we very nearly had a complete other opinion on the game.
Do you know what, James? It's funny you mentioned that, because maybe it's just me, but even if we won that game 2-1, I'd be saying the exact same thing I'm saying today.
I believe you.
I would, honestly, people would accuse me of being negative or boring, but for me, the result isn't even really why I'm frustrated. It's the performance. If we'd have won that game 2-1, I would have come on this podcast this morning and said the exact same thing. It's not good enough. There's got to be standards set. I'm looking to next season as well. We've got a big end to this season to finish, of course, but it's about standards. And next season, we can't just pick and choose and be up for this game, but that game, that's not important. No, if you're a big club, you go deep in all the competitions. Every game matters. At home to Ipswich, away to Real Madrid. At home to Palace, away to... It doesn't matter. And I think if we're not going to instill that mentality from now, we're never going to really get over the line. I want to make a point, though, about Mateta, if I can, very briefly. I don't think I've made the point on this podcast, but there are a lot of Premier League strikers who I think are really, really good, who I think could play for top-tier clubs, right? Maybe not necessarily start and be the main guy. And Mateta's one I've thought for a while now is one of those guys that could play for a lot of Premier League clubs. Let me tell you, if Mateta was doing over the last 2 years what he's been doing for the likes of Dortmund, Napoli, Lisbon, Roma, Lyon, if he was doing the same things he's been doing for Palace as he was doing for those second-tier European clubs, if you like, and we were linked with him, every Arsenal fan would be on it. Every Arsenal fan would be on it. Because he's at Palace, nah, I don't know, you know, Mateta, he's all right, but Mateta is a very good centre-forward. I'm not saying I want him leading the line for us next season for a title challenge, but if we bought him as our second striker, I'll be fine with that. And there's a lot of snobbery around people like Mateta, who's a good striker. He is a good striker. Because he's at Palace, no one really messes with him. But if he was doing at Palace, look at his numbers. If he was doing at Dortmund, right now what he's doing for Palace, we'd be on it. And there's players I look at like Fulham, that Muniz guy. He's a good Premier League striker. João Pedro at Brighton, good Premier League striker. There's a few of them. We know about Wisser at Brentford, a good Premier League striker. And I think this summer we're looking at Gyökeres, we're looking at Sesko, we want Isak, all these glamour European names. There are some good Premier League strikers in this league that I think could do a job in this Arsenal team. But because they're unfashionable clubs, we're not on it. We're not on it. But I'm telling you, Mateta, I've said for a while now, I really, really rate him. He could be for me in any squad in the Premier League. He might not start for City, he might not start for Liverpool, but I can see him in their squad. So why can't I see him in our squad? Forget the team he played for. Sorry,
I think you make a great point, Jordan. I think it says two things. A, I think it tells you the standard of our striking options.
Well, there's that as well.
Yeah. Highlights. Yeah. Like, oh my word. Secondly, I think there was a point in this Arsenal project where, a bit like when we picked up Trossard and look what he's done and look how he stepped up. Let's be honest, guys. In 2.5 years, was it? Yeah, 2.5 seasons. Trossard has been more than worth the 27 million we paid. Big goals in big games, came in the running, whatever, did a job. I think there's a place for those kind of signings where you go, you know what, maybe you're not exactly number one we wanted, but you've come in, you've done a job, you definitely offer something more than maybe other squad players have. Problem is that Arsenal have left that area so neglected, the front three, that I agree with you. Mateta probably does improve it. He's probably better than the strikers we've got. The issue we've got is we're not looking to just get better than what we have. We're looking to get top class in those positions now. So I agree with the sentiment around those players. I totally agree. Do I think you could drop a lot of those names you mentioned into our team, and would they either do well for us and be better than what we got? Yeah, I agree with a lot of those. Does it take us to the level we need to get to?
No, Mateta for 35 Premier League games next year might not win you a title. But I was looking at, I've looked at him for a while and I've rated him for a while. I was at the reverse game. I was there for AFTV actually at Selhurst Park, and I saw him. First of all, he's however big you think he is, he's 4 times as big, right? He's absolutely huge.
I couldn't believe it. I've seen this.
Saliba and Gabriel at Selhurst Park, they were struggling.
Yeah,
they were struggling. Let me tell you, he puts himself, but he can finish. But because he looks a bit awkward and he's a bit, I'm just making the point that this summer we need a striker, and that's going to be the focus. But I just want us to not be snobby about strikers that maybe.
I don't think he's snobby, to be honest. Do you know the reason? How much are you going to cost to get him out of Crystal Palace? He's probably 60, 70 million, like, you know what I mean?
But we're looking at Sesko for 60 million.
Yeah, but you know, you're looking. You're saying that he's not top notch, and he's not quite the one. You know, that's the difference at the moment. Like, you know, years ago, you'd have been able to prize these players away from these clubs. You can't do it now on the cheap. You can't do it on the cheap. I think he's a good player. I think he's better than a lot of strikers out there.
All right, Lee. 40 mil, Jesus and Havertz in there as well. What are you saying?
Could go down that route without a doubt. And listen, he was the game changer yesterday. I thought Eddie worked hard yesterday, but he got nothing. I know, like we're saying that Saliba and Kivia were at half pace and all that. He got no change out of them whatsoever. As soon as he come on, he caused problems. He caused absolute problems, like, you know. But for me, I you know, listen, we're a striker, like, we know that. I look at them; they've got 2 strikers there coming on. They had more options than us yesterday as well. It has to be said. I looked at our bench yesterday. There's 4 players on there. You know, I mean, we could do just as good a job as them. All they do is warm up. None of them come on. No, you know what I mean? There's one kid in there, like, you know what I mean? I've seen him more. You know, I don't know who he is, Gower or whatever. He's never, ever going to come on, boys. Never, ever. If you can't come on in a game like that, you're never coming on. So they're just there to make up numbers. You know, and the squad's light. It's a little bit thin. Other teams like Crystal Palace have got a stronger squad. Now, people go, well, okay, we've got a stronger 11. There's no two ways. That's why we're where we are. But our squad depth isn't good enough, because when you're putting players like that in yesterday, well, you didn't. You know, you're playing before semi-finals, and he's gone with all of his main players.
I mean, the Champions League has masked a lot of this. That's literally goes back to what we said at the beginning, because on our bench we've had 3-4 players that really ain't going to get a chance for the last 6-7 months now. It's nothing new. It's just now we've got our eye on something, so you know we don't look at it too much, because Butler, Deji, you know, he's a 22-year-old young striker. If he was to be given an opportunity, it would have happened prior to this. But he's just been on the bench because of circumstance. And then he even came on and nearly scored the other day. But, you know, that's not really going nowhere. To be honest, Mateta, I like him, but I am going to be snobby with my striker. I want one of the best right now. Eze is probably the one I'm looking at and thinking, listen, the way Odegaard's playing, that sort of profile in Eze could come in and really shake up that position, because he's kind of everything that Odegaard isn't. Whereas Odegaard's got some quality that Eze doesn't have. But the energy levels of Eze, the technique, the willingness to take the risks, I like these things from him. So if I'm looking at any Palace player, I'll be looking at him maybe this summer, because we've got quite a bit to do. And I think we missed that profile in either the midfield or the attacking four. That's who I would look at. But yeah, I don't expect us to be getting either of them, if I'm honest with you.
I think just a final word on this game really quickly, Turkish, that I just think, if we beat PSG and we do it, I mean, even just beating them and getting to the final will be over the moon. But if we get past them, if it's anything like the manner in which we beat Real Madrid, if we're able to book our place in that final, we have hammered this team. You know, we have had a lot to say about this team, these players, this manager at times as well. Let's just look at it just for a second. And I'm not saying this is the only way we should look at it. It's just for the sake of another perspective. When you look at that game last night as well, the amount of injuries we've had, we go into this and Ben White and Marino don't show up. I mean, what's going on there? You know, Timbers had to go play out another 90 minutes. Declan Rice, I hear what you're saying, Lee. I don't think you need to play another game, but to a degree, kind of who else is there for the way Arteta wants to play that position? You know, Jorginho's out, right? Saka, none of us wanted him to start and he didn't. Probably should have been Waneri, but even then it's kind of like, we'll pick the 18-year-old. It's just, there's so much football, and players and managers have talked about this all the time. If we go out against PSG and look really sharp, I can kind of get why they just wanted a game to just be a bit of a nothing affair. And it's not good enough. It's not good enough. I can somewhat sympathize because as much as we're disappointed and we can only spectate, and I know they're the ones on the pitch doing it, I think they'll also be drained and disappointed by this season. I think, you know, that they're human. I think naturally they'll also be up for their efforts. Because one thing I always say, I don't question the effort of this team. I might question the quality, the tactics, whatever. I never really question whether they try. And last night was kind of the first time I really was like, you're not really giving it your all, are you? And I think I can just, to a degree, sympathize, because I think the damage is done in the league. So it's all eyes on the Champions League. It just doesn't change. Whatever happens in the Champions League simultaneously doesn't change what has to happen in the summer. So I'm in quite a sympathetic, forgiving mood, but that's also quite an apathetic mood at the same time. I'm both somewhat understanding for next week, and I'm sort of looking at that and maybe understanding on a human level why that it could be quite natural to have all eyes on that. But at the same time, it is also a reminder of the apathy I feel towards domestic football right now with this Arsenal team.
And James, yeah. I've got no doubt that Arsenal will turn up next week and perform. I've got no doubt.
Well, you know, then again, I keep playing devil's advocate, but, you know, can you switch form on and off like a tap? You're so right. Post Everton, post Brentford, look what we did at the Bernabeu, look what we did against Real Madrid. So there's definitely something in this Arsenal team. They are able to turn it on, and I get that. But I'm not sure I'm in the camp of I've got no doubt they'll show up. I'm not sure. I back them to. I'm backing them to. I think
I've got no doubt that they will. Whether they can win it or not, that's a different matter. But they'll be up for it next week, and it'll be a exciting game, and the performance levels will be a lot higher and all that. Whether they win it or not, that's another thing. But they'll definitely be up for it. We'll definitely be. You know what I mean? Like that performance won't be there next Tuesday. You know, I can virtually guarantee that. But whether you get the result or not, that's another conversation. But I do think that the Arsenal are a well-drilled, very, very good side. You even see it yesterday at some of the times, you know, that they control the ball. But there were things there yesterday that it's not worth going into. Like they will not do on next Tuesday, whatever happens. And the other thing is the atmosphere in the stadium yesterday won't be the same. So maybe sometimes that pushes support players as well. I don't know, like, you know what I mean? You play in front of...
Of course it does, Lee. And I know in a perfect world we want to pretend it doesn't. But of course, when they walked in against Real Madrid and they saw everything from the tifo, they heard the noise. Of course it lifts you. Of course it does. But I think my issue is, like I said, I don't really mind that they were somewhat in second gear and not perfect. I'm just annoyed we didn't win it because of the same error. I'll be honest. I know it's not just. Listen, William Saliba, I love him to bits, and I know there was so many poor things about yesterday's game. But I'm so annoyed about that error. I really am. That and Waneri not starting are my two biggest gripes from yesterday. And I know there's more, and I know it's not just that, and I know James is being a little bit too, you know, tunnel vision the way he's looking at it. But if you just play a simple pass, we go and win it 2-1, and it's comfortable. And we just kick it to next week.
It was always coming out, James. I don't know if we were sitting around, like, you know, all of us saying like they're going to score.
Yeah, they deserve 2 goals. They did.
And it happened, whether it was a mistake or not.
We got away with it for once, Lee. How many times are we talking about teams having 1 shot, 1 goal? I've seen us draw games like Fulham away, where Fulham did nothing and it ended 1-1. And we battered their goal and it ended 1. How many times do we never get away with it? Like, it's always, if you have a chance against Arsenal, you're going to score them. You know, we do so well as it is to limit. Real Madrid didn't deserve anything, and they came out with a goal. So a little part of me is also like, come on, like, when are we just going to, for once, be in second gear, largely have the job done on 8 seen out? You know, Everton, they had so little in that. Get a shit penalty. Brentford, they didn't do anything. They get a goal off a set piece. I'm not saying we were great in these games. I'm not saying we deserve to win. I don't know. I'm just kind of... there's a lot of ways to look at it. And I was very annoyed by that error. It's the exact same error from the week before. And hopefully Saliba's got them out of the system. But I agree, Arsenal were good enough, and it's not all his fault. It's far from all his fault.
Listen, the summer's all about, you know, we control a lot of games. We need to kill a lot of these games. So to take away some of the control and bring in some killing, you know. Hopefully the monetization stays on, because you know how YouTube are. But
what about Crystal Palace tweeting like, you know, thank you Liverpool? So, you know what I mean?
What was that? What was that?
Football's gone though, man. Social football's gone, man. Crystal Palace tweeted, "You're welcome, Liverpool."
You're welcome, Liverpool.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'd sort of, do you know, I'd get it if they'd won them the league. If Palace had won, I'd sort of be like, literally won them the title. But it's like, you're welcome. We got you a few points closer. I mean, you know, Brentford, Everton, everyone could be tweeting. You know, there's a list of about 12 clubs who could be tweeting Liverpool this season. But you've all played a part. Do you know what I mean? So if
just
they won the league, I think,
tweet.
well, yeah, fair enough.
Classless, you know what I mean? They've got time, you know. I actually wanted Crystal Palace.
I just don't get it. But fair enough.
But I wanted Crystal Palace to win the semi-final. I don't now.
Did you see Dortmund tweeted something?
But you know what it is, like, though, Lee?
You
know why we got to... sorry, Jim. You know why we got to be careful with that? Because, like, our Arsenal social media team is full of wankers as well. Like, you know, they got some young wankers doing all of these jobs across the board. So they're all tweeting some sort of bullshit to get reactions. So we can't really judge the club based off of some little fool in the Crystal Palace office that decides to rattle Arsenal fans, because that's the culture of online. You know, you see some of Arsenal's tweets when...
No, you're right.
When United signed Ronaldo and we did we done some community thing, but I don't know what. So sometimes
you're right.
bullshit.
You're right, but this doesn't make sense though, because it's not like Liverpool and Crystal Palace have like a link or a tie.
You know what? But what makes sense though, Jordan? Clicks make sense in this modern day era, and they got clicks. They got people talking about it. They got people upset about it. That's all that matters to these companies now. It's how do you get us clicks? How do you get us views? And in football, in the football sphere online, it's rattle people, say things that aren't quite genuine. But you'll get.
It didn't rattle me. I just thought it was classless. I just thought it was.
You just said you want them out of the fucking semi-final, so I think it.
Well, no, there was a few things that done that for me yesterday. Second again. Why they keep singing that? Like they'd love to be second. They'd love to be second. Nottingham Forest are in fourth and celebrating it, but like it seems as a just to come second. He's not cool.
That is a weird chant. I'd hear it from Liverpool, Man City fans, but I'm a little bit like, not Palace. I mean, Palace having fun. If a Tottenham or Man United fan sang that to me, I'd be like, really? Do you know what I mean? Okay. Did you guys see Dortmund tweeting to Barcelona something like, now go on and win it or something?
No.
I mean, Dortmund are a very kind of cool club, to be fair. I just think if Arsenal get knocked out by PSG and I see them responding to their tweet like, now go on and win it, guys, my head would be on Mars. I mean,
I hear you.
There's a little tongue in cheek in there. I don't mind that. I remember we played Dunstable in the FA Cup once, and we knocked them out, and their players would go, "Good luck, hope you go and win it." Like it's just, yes, you know what I mean. I think it's a little tongue in cheek sort of thing. That is
maybe. Yeah, like I said, my head would be on Mars if I saw Arsenal tweeting to the people who knocked us out. Oh, go on then. Go if
PSG were to knock us out, do you feel like you want them to go and win it or not?
I couldn't give a shit.
Do you know, this is a very rare situation in which I'm an Arsenal fan. I'm desperate for us to win it, but there's a really good story around all four clubs. Arsenal, it's obvious. We know it. We're in it. PSG, I mean, losing Mbappe, Neymar, and Messi, and Enrique, by the way, everything he's been through, like he deserves for the talent he is. He deserves all the success. And the players and the young players they've got are brilliant. Barcelona have kind of been through a really weird time. Hansi Flick's a great manager, and they got these young players like Pedri and Yamal who are kind of Kubasi who are doing their thing, and that's a great story. And Inter Milan, obviously lost the final a couple of years ago. Inzaghi has been unbelievable. They're completely turned their fortunes. Well, not completely. I mean, they did win under Conte, but and they're kind of competitive again. And it'd be kind of unbelievable if they did it. I mean, I think there's like a great story with all four teams. I don't think you've got the typical, Man City were favourites or Real Madrid do it time and time again. And I think it makes for really fascinating semi-finals because I genuinely think any one of those four could win it. I honestly think this is 25% each if I were giving chances. I don't think there's one that's naturally ahead. You could say, you could talk about Inter Milan's defense. I think tactically Arsenal are one of the most astute teams in Europe. I think Barcelona, the football they play, PSG, the young talents they've got. You could flip that and say that for each one, actually. Yeah, I think there's great stories with all four.
You can make sense of each one at the end, winning it.
Yeah, Inter Milan had a poor result last night. I see, you know what I mean. So
I think they've had a few. Let me check.
Maybe they got one eye on Barcelona next week.
Oh yeah, AC Milan battered them in the semi-final of the.
Yeah, I see that they lost
3-0, and they lost at Bologna 1-0, which was bad for their title hopes. So yeah, that's a bad couple of days for Inter. They're conceding goals.
It won't matter if they beat Barcelona, will it? No one will care.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
PSG drew as well, right? To Nantes, I think.
Did they probably rotated their whole team? Let me check.
I don't think they rotated.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure they went quite strong, actually.
Let's have a little look.
Yeah. Listen, I think it happens in all leagues and all walks of life.
Yeah, they did. They went strong. They drew
when it's our team, you feel it a little bit more. But like, I see that AC Milan, Inter Milan, and you just brush it off as though they got bigger things next week to play. Like but when it's us, you think, no, it's not. Everything's like different, isn't it? But when you're in it, It's. I'll tell you what was tougher for me yesterday is a lot of people spent a lot of money yesterday to watch that game.
Yes, that I agree with.
And you know, you're expected to turn up and everything like that, and they put in that sort of performance. That's what's got me a little bit, like, you know.
I think that's a problem with the product though, Lee. And I'm not going to extend this by another 40 minutes, but there really is a conversation around the amount of football, the amount of purely the amount of games, the amount of competitions, how regularly it is, how intense the schedule is, and actually people get football fatigue. And I think to a degree we can't always blame the players, and that's not fair on the fans, because fans want to go to every game feeling like it's competitive, like it matters, like it's a big one. But can we really blame the players for not being up for it for all 60 games of the season? Some people say, yeah, James, they're paid to do it. They're paid a lot of money. They have to turn up once or twice a week, show up. And I get it. For 2 hours, okay, maybe I get it. But I can somewhat sympathize. And I think there's a major problem with the product. I really do. I think we are ruining football to a degree.
It was a game, really, that both teams, both clubs didn't want. If we've been really honest about it.
I kind of agree with that. And look, it's the league, right? So there's nothing you can do about that. That format can never change. But look, I just think there's a point. We've got a Club World Cup coming. I mean, oh my word. You know, it's just the amount of, I don't know. Anyway, let me not, because I'll start. It's a long old conversation. But
and to be honest, we've spoken long enough about that fixture there.
Yeah.
I think we've done an admirable job. I think we've covered all angles. And here's the prediction table. Only Jordan's got a point. We are not predicting today, though. We'll save that for Sunday night show. But everyone keep it in mind. James is top on.
Taking James's point off.
Yeah. It's
gone. Don't worry.
So James is now on 55 points. Jordan 6 behind on 49. Lee a further 11 behind on 38. And I'm 1 behind Lee on 37. So yeah, all to
play over yet. It's not quite over yet. It's not
relegation
quite over yet.
I don't know about your side of things. Have we got comments of the day ready?
Yeah, man. They're good this week. They're good this week.
Yeah, some people are taking the piss.
Which one are you talking about? The AA meeting?
Felicia. When Lee brought up the tactical show, I realised what I'd been missing because I've been having some trouble sleeping. Thank you, Lee Judges. You are a legend.
You haven't got that comment. Me and Circus we were saying that yesterday. And we was laughing at Richard. And I said, that's the comment for me. Like, you know?
Also, another one taking the absolute piss. I had to reply to this. Kyle, does James need an AA meeting? What's an AA meeting?
Alcoholics Anonymous.
Right.
Anonymous, yeah.
I swear he is always nursing a hangover in the show. I just replied, can't a young man have a good time?
There was a few that said that as well, actually. It was 2 or 3 that said James has got a problem, I think. Every time he comes on, he looks mashed.
You know, today, I've got to say, this morning, I woke up a minute before I jumped on, so my bad. Otherwise, yeah, you know, I'm going out, I'm enjoying myself, people. It's nearly summer. You know, I'm just, you know, life's, I'm just having a good time. What, am I not allowed to? You know, maybe I should be more professional for the pod. Now that's another question. But don't question my drinking habits, please. Okay, I'm
let him enjoy those.
Question my professionalism, but not, you know, I'm all good on that side.
Not the drinking culture.
Yeah.
There was a lot of love, so much response to a live show. Everyone wants a live show. I saw Kenya, Australia, America, Russia. There were so many people. We got to do a live tour, guys. We're going on tour. Lads on tour.
Yeah.
Doing it.
Let's do Finsbury Park first.
yeah.
Let's try get one. Let's try get one in the ends.
So that's definitely a positive. I got a couple that I picked out. Every week, Lee says, "I think that was Mourinho's best game in an Arsenal shirt."
I've got this
He's
one.
improving every week.
Yeah.
I
didn't say it today.
You didn't. Another one here. Turkish. The big problem with a live show will be getting a big enough venue, as this event will be mobbed with tickets trading like gold. Would be a great event. So yeah, lots of love for a live show. I want to just offer James an apology. because on the last podcast, I was adamant, I was emphatic, I was certain that James had called, who was it? It was Odegaard. Odegaard had a brilliant performance, said he was brilliant, and I watched back the tape, and he was correct. He used the word brilliant, I think, in reference to a passage of play or a pass, as opposed to
the pass into Rice. Yeah, so it was a brilliant pass.
Yeah. So you know, I'm a fair man. I was adamant. I doubled down, but the facts are the facts. He did not say that. So
the comments were funny. Someone went, "Jordan's just gaslighting James." Jordan's just lying.
And then moved on.
It was funny. It was funny. Yeah.
So James, I apologize.
It's all good. It's not a problem. I'll never be mad at you for saying I was more positive than I was.
My one, to be honest, you said a few of my ones. Who's this from? This one's from 55J, or the name is Zella. Lee, quote, "I don't want to see Rice on Wednesday. I'd rather have chips." Me, turns off podcast.